You know, it'd be nice if we could have a little music to liven things up around here. On second thought, welcome back everyone to my look at the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Today I'll be looking at what is perhaps the black sheep of the series, Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. The original Nightmare was a huge success at the box office, so of course New Line sought to ride the Freddy money train and make a sequel. Wes Craven and New Line head Robert Shaye had butted heads on the set of the first movie, but they had the decency to offer Wes to return as director. He declined after reading the script written by David Chaskin, and Jack Shoulder was chosen.
I just thought that it would be fun for Freddy to have a human avatar that's actually doing stuff in the real world. That was where I took off from, Possession.
I was never a huge fan of the original. I mean, I understood why it was good and I understood why it was successful, but I felt no compunction to follow the template of the first film.
Freddy actor Robert Englund was almost not brought back to return after his agent started requesting more money. However, after starting filming with a different actor, they realized just how integral Robert was, and of course he was back to reprise the role. Patton was brought in to play the young man being tormented by Freddy, but this film is notorious for having not so subtle undertones of homosexuality, and at the time Patton was a closeted homosexual. The film would ultimately destroy his career as an actor, but I don't want to derail this review. If you'd care to learn more about the situation, I suggest checking out the documentary he did called Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, which dives into Mark and his history involving the film. So yeah, no Wes Craven, an odd script involving gay overtones, and Freddy possession. How would this sequel live up to the first masterpiece? Let's find out. The movie begins innocently enough with Jesse riding the school bus. When only he and two other girls are left, the bus starts to speed up. Suddenly it goes out of control and drives off into the desert.
Step inside, it's a wild ride.
Freddy shows himself to be the driver and approaches the three kids, but a swipe reveals that this was all a nightmare.
Mommy, why can't Jesse wake up like everybody else?
This is the Walsh family, and they've just moved into 1428 Elm Street. No time to waste here though, cause Jesse has to give a ride to Lisa, played by Meryl Streep. Wait, no, that's actress Kim Myers. Are you sure? Damn, that is an uncanny resemblance.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture.
Okay, I already see one. Give him. Okay.
They're the same picture.
It's gym class time, and during a game of baseball, Jesse gets into a fight with Jock Grady. However, after Coach Snyder punishes the two by forcing them to do push-ups, you actually start to see a friendship form. Grady even gives him the heads up that the house on Elm Street Jesse moved into was home to a girl who went crazy after her boyfriend was killed across the street. What a good pal looking out.
We know how to be friends.
That night, Jesse wakes up to investigate the basement, but after seeing a figure, he rushes inside, only to be confronted by Freddy. But Freddy doesn't want to kill Jesse. In fact, he tells him that he needs him for some special work.
You've got the body. I've got the brain.
Freddy is certainly still scary at this point in time. His humor is ever present, but it's real sick and dark. The new makeup design was done by Kevin Yeager, who wanted to give him the look of a male witch. There are those piercing red eyes, hook nose, sharp chin, and old man features. It's a nice job at keeping him pretty frightening. The next day at school, Jesse falls asleep and dreams a snake is wrapping around him. He wakes up and there is indeed a snake there. Not sure if he dragged it out or if it was there the whole time, but no one seems to be too startled. Later, Jesse makes plans with Lisa for a study session, but his father forces him to finish unpacking his room. We then get one of the weirdest montage scenes ever. Yep, the writer and director claimed they had no idea this movie would be interpreted as gay, completely unaware they were making the Top Gun of horror. Lisa interrupts the dance number and helps Jesse unpack. They stumble upon Nancy's diary that details the nightmare she had about Freddy. Never saw her write diary entries in the first one, but whatever. That night, Jesse wakes up with everything around him melting. He ventures down to the basement and tries on the claws found in the furnace. Freddy watches him handle the glove and even encourages him to try it on and kill for him, but he refuses. The next day, we get a little more of Jesse and Grady palling around and getting into more trouble with Coach Snyder. That night, it's another hot one at the Walsh's house. Hot enough that the family bird goes insane and starts attacking them, until... The filmmakers claim they were inspired by Hitchcock's The Birds for this scene. Looks more like something straight out of Looney Tunes to me. Later, Jesse wakes up and decides to go for a late-night stroll to the local S&M bar. Yep. And runs into his arch-enemy, Coach Snyder, who somehow managed to drag Jesse to the school and force him to do some laps. He tells Jesse to hit the showers, but back in his office, he's attacked by a bunch of balls to the face. I can't make this shit up. He's dragged into the shower with Jesse, stripped naked, towel spanked, and killed by Freddy. Or should I say, Jesse killed him. Jesse's parents are starting to worry about him, thinking he's on drugs. His mom suggests therapy, while his dad calls for a kick in the ass. At school, Grady breaks the news to Jesse about Schneider's murder, as the police and ambulances are there to clean up the place. That night, Jesse is being urged to kill again, and walks in on his sister.
Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4.
That's it, I'm out of here.
Yeah, that shit is really creepy. The next day, Lisa tells Jesse she's been reading Nancy's diary and thinks his nightmares are connected to Kruger. She takes him to the power plant where Freddy worked and killed children, looking to see if he has any connections, but it fails. At night, a POV enters the room of Jesse's little sister.
Wake up, little girl.
What time is it?
It's late. Go back to sleep.
Again, that shit involving his sister is creepy and frankly uncomfortable. Lisa sees Jesse as distressed and tries to help, but he's not really in the mood. At lunch, she and her friend Carrie join Jesse and Grady to ask if they'll be showing up to Lisa's pool party.
So you going to Lisa's house tomorrow night?
Nope. I'm grounded.
How come?
I think my grandmother down a flight of stairs.
Grady is the freaking coolest. But Jesse loses his cool on him as he clearly is losing his sanity. It sucks to see him go through all this torment. But it's time for Lisa's cool pool party.
Pool party, baby. It was a cool party, cool pool party. La 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 la.
Everyone is having fun except Jesse, even as Lisa tries to cheer him up all alone in the cabana house. They start to get intimate, but after an appearance from Freddy's tongue, he pieces out and hops on over to Grady's to see if he'll help him.
Something is trying to get inside my body.
Phrasing.
Yeah, and she's female and she's waiting for you in the cabana. And you want to sleep with me.
Hey, phrasing!
Grady agrees to keep an eye on Jesse while he sleeps, but it's not good enough as Freddy begins to erupt out of Jesse's body and a sickening transformation occurs. Sadly, Grady is killed after just trying to be there for his friend. The effects are decent in this transformation scene. You can tell where the fake body is and whatnot, but seeing Freddy burst out of Jesse's chest is a neat effect. Can tell more time went into that instead of the death of Grady. Jesse runs back to Lisa and admits to her that he killed Coach Snyder and Grady, afraid he'll do it again. Lisa is oddly calm in front of the man covered in blood, telling Jesse that he has to fight back against Freddy. This advice isn't good enough as Kruger returns and attacks Lisa. I guess Freddy is Jesse now, but Jesse is still inside the body of Freddy, even though it's Jesse's body, and fuck it, it's too confusing. Jesse confessing his love for Lisa through Freddy's mouth is pretty damn weird, but it causes Freddy to spare her and leap out of the back door. Suddenly, he crashes the pool party and starts killing kids left and right. It's very odd watching Freddy do his thing in a big open space with tons of people around. Huge departure from the claustrophobic and lonely atmosphere of the nightmares in the original. Feels like a betrayal of the rules that were established for Freddy. But we do get these great lines.
I'm here to help you. Help yourself, fucker! You are all my children now.
Lisa's dad tries to shoot Freddy/Jesse, but it's no use, and he decides this party is totally lame now and leaves. Lisa decides to go looking for Jesse at the old power plant from earlier. She runs into some weird baby-faced guard dogs, which... why? Before finding Freddy. Before he can attack, she admits she loves Jesse, causing pause. Apparently this is able to help Jesse fight Freddy from within, and he's lit on fire. He begins to melt and eventually collapses, but Jesse safely emerges from the charred up corpse. That's right, folks, Freddy Krueger was just defeated by love.
That's the power of love.
Sometime later, we see Jesse join Lisa and Carrie on the bus to school. Things seem to have turned out well for everyone.
Jesse, it's okay. It's all over.
You boys like Mexico? Yeah!
My thoughts on Freddy's Revenge. It's weirdly fascinating. It feels completely different from the rest of the series. People complain that it's a departure, but it was the second film in the franchise. They had free range to do whatever they wanted with only one previous movie, and the result was something so odd and yet interesting. As I stated, and you saw, there's an underlying theme of homosexuality, and I am 100% fine with that. It's actually what makes this movie kind of fun to discuss. The way I interpret it is that it's clear that Freddy is essentially seducing Jesse. He's scared because, you know, he's being possessed by a child killer, but that terror he's expressing can also be seen as him struggling with his sexuality and who he really is. It becomes so in your face that it's no longer subtext, and yet no one involved with the production, save for a few, seemed to notice it.
I simply did not have the self-awareness to realize that any of this might be interpreted as gay.
We made Nightmare 2 absolutely clueless that it had any gay overtones whatsoever.
I'm absolutely sure there's not one moment that I remember that it was discussed.
I never saw it.
I didn't get it.
Look, it was supposed to be subtext.
I definitely think the behind-the-scenes stuff on this movie is by far the most interesting of the whole series, and I'm just hitting the tip of the iceberg. I would highly suggest checking out the segment on it in the other documentary, Never Sleep Again. Putting all of that aside, the movie as a whole is just okay. It doesn't even come near the greatness of the original, but I admire the different direction it attempted. Freddy wanting a body in the real world so he can kill more is a neat motive, but it unfortunately removes the frightening nightmare imagery and inventive deaths. I did say that the scenes involving Jesse's sister were genuinely creepy, but I'm never really scared. There's some very off editing present too, and you see a pattern that becomes apparent when Jesse has a nightmare, then goes to school. It's a cycle that repeats and gets annoying. A huge complaint from me here is that Freddy's kills are weak as hell. They lack the creativity that is well regarded in the series. Seeing a few swipes and stabs from his claws is boring. Sure, he gets quite a few of them at the pool party, and I do laugh when he kills the guy trying to help him, but I'll take the quality of the original kills than the quantity in this one. The cast of main characters is actually fairly small. Really, it's just Jesse, Lisa, and Grady. Grady is oddly my favorite because he's genuinely just a cool, funny guy and a good friend to Jesse, even though they got off to a rough start. However, Mark Patton puts on a surprisingly good performance as Jesse. He convincingly portrays the anguish he's experiencing thanks to Freddy's torture, similar to Nancy. Lisa is very cute and works well as the object of Jesse's affection. Although you could say that Grady also works as the same object of affection. She could be the throwaway love interest, but she is incredibly active in helping Jesse with what he's going through and might as well be considered the hero by the end. Luckily, Freddy is still scary here and has a cool design. The tormenting and persistent encouragement to kill he subjects Jesse to makes him just as evil as he was in the first. Strangely enough, my biggest compliment for him is Robert Englund's voice, as it's especially intimidating here than in the rest of the series. So while it's nowhere near as scary as the first film, has dull kills, and repeats a lot of story beats, the interesting premise, good characters, scary Freddy, and sometimes amusing subtext makes it an entertaining watch. I give A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 Freddy's Revenge 3.5 brains out of 5. But what are your thoughts? Did you catch on to the hidden theme in the movie? Are you a fan of the different approach this one took after the original? And what was your favorite kill? Don't forget to subscribe and follow my Twitter in the link below. Next week, the Elm Street kids fight back in A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. Until next time, peace!